More 5-star reads this year than any year I've been alive. I haven't been able to get it out of my head since then. I had a really great time with this one. I'm gonna say no, really a big disappointment for me. I apologize for the jump scare. I've actually never read this. She is the moment. Hi. I'm Sam. There's quite literally no one asking me to do this, but we are approaching mid-year. So it is officially mid-year freakout tag season, and this is one of few tags that I like to do every year. So far in 2025, I have read 46 books. I think in previous years, I have been really just trying to read as much as I possibly can because I'm constantly haunted by the fact that I will never be able to read all the books I want to read in my lifetime. But that turned out to be a really good way to sour a hobby for me. So this year I really wanted to prioritize more quality over quantity, and I think it's been serving me well. I've had more 5-star reads this year than I think any year I've been alive. So yeah, it's been a really great reading year so far. So the first question is the best book you've read so far this year. This one actually comes from my very first video in my reading subscriber recommendations series, which I started this year. I'm as surprised as you probably will be that my favorite book so far this year is Cruddy by Lynda because from the cover and the fact that it includes illustrations, I was so sure this was going to be young adult and would not really be up my alley or really wouldn't be more than like a 3-star read for me. But this blew me away. I loved this so much. This was disturbing, bleak, but also endearing and charming. In this, we're following a girl who, this is kind of her manifesto. At the beginning, she says, if you are reading this, it means that I've been successful in taking my own life. And we're really following her life story as an 11-year-old driving across the country with her fugitive father. And we're going back and forth between her as an 11-year-old with her father and then present day as a 16-year-old writing this manifesto. So this was gritty, this was bleak, this was funny, this was kind of the perfect combo of all things I love in literature. So you should read it. Number 2 is best sequel you've read so far this year. So I don't read a lot of novel series. I read more manga series. And honestly, this year I haven't really read a ton of manga, but one that I've been really liking lately is The Guy She Was Interested Wasn't a Guy at All. So this is a high school romance manga. I think that the really unique thing about this is that instead of being black and white, it's black, white, and green. So the art style is very distinct. It's very beautiful. And as much as I think I get a reputation for not liking romance because I don't read contemporary romance novels, I am like such a sucker for just very sweet high school romance manga. So yeah, this has really been doing it for me. It's really just about these two girls in the same high school who bond over their shared love of Western music. And yeah, it's delightful. So that's the best sequel I've read so far this year. Number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. This is a book I think I randomly saw the cover on Goodreads maybe, and it immediately drew me in. And I've kind of haven't been able to get it out of my head since then. So that is Happiness Forever by Adelaide Faith. I don't really know much about this. I just know it has a really cool cover. I've never even heard of this author before. I think if I'm just gonna spitball what I remember from the synopsis is we are following a protagonist who is in therapy and is like obsessed with being in therapy. So I love an unhinged, cray cuckoo bananas protagonist. So yeah, I really hope to read that before the end of the year. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. That's gotta be Strange Houses by Uketsu, translated by Jim Ryan. I read Strange Pictures by Uketsu for a video I released where I read a bunch of new book releases to tell you if they're worth your time. And I had a really great time with this one. So they're already coming out with a book called Strange Houses. I think as of uploading this, it will already have been released and I will hopefully already have gotten my grubby mitts on it. I admittedly don't really know what it is about. I'm assuming it's going to be similar to Strange Pictures where it's like a mystery, but this time we're maybe in more of like a haunted house setting. I don't know, but I am in the capable hands of Uketsu and Jim Ryan. Number 5 is the biggest disappointment. That's gotta be The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica, and this is translated by Sarah Moses. I also talked about this book in my video where I read new releases to tell you if they were worth your time, and in that I said this one is not worth your time. I think you should skip it. This is about a post-apocalyptic dystopian future. Our protagonist is a sister or nun or some sort of religious figure in this like cult convent. That sounds like it would be awesome. So this was really a big disappointment for me. Number 6 is biggest surprise. My biggest surprise has to be Shy Girl by Mia Ballard. What's surprising to me is how much I loved it, because typically contemporary popcorn horror is not really my cup of tea anymore. It doesn't really engage me as much as other genres that I like to read now. But this was like the perfect blend of lit fic, weird girl, and gross, crazy horror. So I was shocked in more ways than one by this book. For those of you who do not know what this is about a woman who enters into a contract with a man to be a sugar baby for him, where she pretends to be his dog. So read it if you want. Number 7 is new favorite author. So for this, I have chosen Bernice Rubens. She was the first woman to win the Booker Prize in the 70s. The first book I read of hers was A 5-Year Sentence. This is a very ugly cover, so I apologize for the jump scare, but this was such a funny black comedy. I just love her voice. I love her style. It's so funny, so dry, and hilarious. This is about a woman who's retiring from her job, and she's planning to end her life, but a coworker gifts her a 5-year diary for her to document her adventures in retirement. And she is so obedient that she feels like she cannot end her life. She has to see through the end of this 5-year diary. It's just freaking hilarious. It's dark. And honestly, this was like probably a 3-star up until like the last 5 pages. So I loved that. So then I proceeded to pick up Mr. Wakefield's Crusade by her as well. And it felt very similar in tone. This time we're following a very neurotic man who witnesses a man dying in front of him at the post office. And he spontaneously steals the letter from his corpse before the authorities arrive. And he reads this letter, and it is a letter to the man's dead wife, where it seems like he is apologizing for killing her or being responsible for her death in some way. So this sends him on a crusade where he tries to figure out what really happened to this man's wife. So I really enjoyed my time with these two. I have since kind of tore it up at the secondhand shops and found 4 more of her books. So The Waiting Game, Our Father, The Elected Member, which won the Booker Prize, and then A Solitary Grief. So all of these have kind of the most ugly covers that I never would have thought to pick up at a secondhand shop. So I'm really glad that I didn't let this uggo cover deter me, and I still stuck with it, because I'm really liking her writing. So she is the moment of 2025 for me, I would say. And then segueing into number 8, which is new favorite character, it's gotta be Miss Hawkins from A 5-Year Sentence. I'm pretty sure my Goodreads review of this book is just stay crazy girl, I love you, and I stand by that. Number 9, book that made you cry. I very rarely cry while reading, but when I do, I feel like I scream cry. And that is exactly what happened here. That is We Could Be Rats by Emily Austen. I think this resonated with me so much because it's exploring themes that feel very near and dear to my heart. So the main character, Sigrid, is very depressed and wanting to end her life, and her sister is basically trying to keep her alive. So really the whole novel is almost like diary entries from Sigrid, where she is attempting to write a suicide note, but she's having trouble doing it. And yeah, there were just a lot of moments in here that were pretty sad and made me cry real tears. So if you haven't read any Emily Austen, I would highly recommend her. She is probably one of my favorite authors. I've loved everything I've read from her. Number 10, most beautiful book you have acquired this year. That's got to be Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I've actually never read this. I've been meaning to. I've been a little intimidated by it, I think. So this like bubblegum pink version, I was like, wow, maybe I don't have to actually be that afraid of this classic. And then I love the quote on the back, if I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear. I love that. So this is my beautiful baby that I just got this year. My most beautiful baby. Number 11, books you want to read before the end of the year. I'm pretty sure in my mid-year freakout tag 2024, all of the books that I said for this question ended up not getting read. So I'm gonna say no. to this question. I'm just gonna reject this question because I don't want to set a TBR. I don't want to set myself up for failure. I'm a huge mood reader, and as soon as I try to constrain myself with a TBR, I feel like reading becomes a job. So right now, priority number one is just to get out of my reading slump. So if you have any recommendations of books I should read to do that, let me know. And then finally, number 12, favorite booktube community members. Angie from Maybe I'll Read Today, Frankie from Frankie's Shelf, Chanel from Chanel Chapters, and then Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, which I'll say, I don't think I've ever talked about Scott before on the channel, and on the surface, it wouldn't look like they would have a very similar reading taste to me, but I've gotten so many recommendations from them that I've ended up loving. I discovered Bernice Rubens through Scott, so I think if you have a similar reading taste to me and you haven't been watching Scott, you need to get on it. Okay guys, that was the mid-year freakout tag 2025 edition. Thank you so much for watching. So you can like this video if you want, comment. What are you reading? What are the best and worst books you've read so far this year? Let me know. You could watch my other videos if you want. You could subscribe, and I'll see you in whatever video I make next. Love you guys very much. Bye.